Good evening. I'm calling to order the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission on this, the 21st day of September, 2021. First item on the agenda is review and approve of minutes. We have no minutes to approve tonight, so we'll move on to the signing of bills, of which there are none. So right on to meetings and hearings. The first is a continued public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by Renfrew Street LLC for the construction of a single-family home at 136 Old Mill Road.
Is there a certain mic I should talk into?
Yeah, I don't know, I guess the mic, will they pick it up? Will there be does he have to talk into the mic, or is there a mic?
He's fine over there.
He's fine where he was, okay.
So, hi, my name is Mitch Maslenka. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting LLC, and I'm representing the applicant, Lori Benincasa of Renview Street LLC, for the proposed single-family house at 136 Old Mill Road in Shrewsbury. So we came before the commission several months back for our initial hearing, and you had given us comments back to address some of those, so I'll go over those tonight, how we address them. Another huge part of your request was for us to go before DPW and file a stormwater bylaw application, stormwater management bylaw application. So that has been filed and has been in the review process with DPW. We've gone through one initial review with them. We made several site plan changes, and then Vincent Ty from DPW gave us some comments just a few days ago that we just addressed with the recent submittal. We submitted technically today with all the hard copies. So I'll just walk you through those. Our hope is tonight that you'll be willing to issue the order of conditions with a certain condition saying you approve the project pending DPW's approval of the stormwater bylaw application. So first off was a comment from you guys several months back about bringing the silt fence and erosion control all the way around the proposed limit of work. So we have added the silt fence and straw bales all the way around the perimeter of the limit of work. That way there's no mistakes getting onto neighboring properties, and also to keep the buffer zones and resource areas safe from any erosion and sediment within the limit of work. So you might be able to see that on sheet 2. It's shown in the black, the dark black dashed line going around the limit of work. It says proposed silt fence with straw bales. So that was one aspect of our plan revisions that you guys had requested. Another one was adding some sort of demarcation along the property line between our site and the town property. So what we've done is we added a hedge of witch hazel shrubs, which are good shade tolerant species that'll live and thrive underneath the tall trees that are on the town property. So that'll give a good demarcation of where the property owners own and where the town property is. We've also added 3 no dumping signs along that property line as well, so that the property owner knows not to dump anything off property or within the buffer zone. We've created a long-term operation and maintenance plan that was done by HS&T Group. We've also, Goddard has also made an additional plan with, they're pretty redundant. They say basically the same things, and one important one is saying no leaf clippings can be taken off, dumped off the property or within the buffer zones. So that was one aspect of that. And then another was no fertilizers can be used on the site, or high phosphorus fertilizers can be used on the site. What else do we got? So there was some review by DPW that we had to address some of their things. So we have been able to capture 1 inch of runoff from impervious surfaces through an infiltration system, underground infiltration system, a Coltech that is going to be proposed in the backyard. We had shifted it to the front, but then we didn't meet stormwater handbook setbacks, so they shifted it to the back. So that was part of our most recent submittal today, shifting it towards the back to meet the setback standards. So that'll capture 1 inch of runoff from the impervious surfaces, that being the house. As for the driveway, we have an eco trench at between the sidewalk or roadway and our driveway, so that it can capture any sediment and water so that no water gets to the public roadway, and the water will be put through drain and released onto this splash pad, 5 foot by 3 foot splash pad, so that stormwater can infiltrate on site. We had inverts and elevations shown on our details. That was a DPW comment. We've shown the sidewalk on the plan. That was another request from DPW. You had requested a 50-foot buffer zone be shown on the plan, so that's now shown on the plan. So that sums our plan revisions up. So if there's any questions or comments,
Okay.
free.
Ken, would you like to start?
Yeah, I'm all set.
What's that? Martha?
I need you to define an eco trench.
Okay, so there was a detailed spec sheet we added to the new responses here. I don't know if you have this, but this eco trench is going to just basically capture the stormwater. The water will flow from the driveway into the trench and then be spat down a drain onto a splash pad on site. So I don't know if you want to.
What is the trench lined with?
What's it aligned with?
What's it lined with?
Oh, that is a great question.
Is it tile? Is it vegetated? Is it gravel?
I was envisioning, so it says galvanized steel edge. So I was envisioning a metal structure where it can flow into some grates and then be dispersed out.
So it's like a half a culvert.
So imagine a catch basin, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Oh, you found it?
I don't know, would it be the storm trench detail?
So
Storm drain?
it wasn't added onto the site plans, so this is what the engineer gave me, so that's what I was gonna run with.
Okay.
Yeah.
That looks highly engineered. Here. You take a look at it. And I have another question. Often, I love the witch hazel. I think that's a great tree. It's a native tree, so it's got wildlife value. It will have, it's interesting in the fall if you get the native ones because they're fall blooming trees. We often, sometimes we have issues with landowners cutting down vegetation, so I would like to I'd like to hear the opinion of the other commissioners as to whether we might want to have boulders or something a little bit more permanent as well. But please do keep the witch hazel.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's it for me.
Brad? Any comments on this?
Just one question. The witch hazel, what's the spacing on that?
That's all right.
I don't know if I specified that, but I would say 10 feet on center.
10 feet?
Yeah.
So, and Bob, to touch on your comment too, and Martha's, with the vegetation, I mean, you could specify something more permanent, but you can also, certificate of compliance time, put an ongoing condition that vegetation remain in place. So should it get cut down or something to that nature later on, the commission has recourse. Versus if you issue a full certificate of compliance at the end of the project, someone may just go in and cut it, and you have less of ability to reestablish that. But if you do want something more permanent, you know, we've done fences, we've done boulders. It's really up to the commission on that.
Okay. Thanks.
Other than that, you're all set? Jason?
No, I mean, I agree with Martha about putting something maybe a little more permanent in there. I'm nervous that somebody could say, I don't care about the no dumping signs and cut down the witch hazel, and we're into some issues there. So I don't know, Bob, how you feel, or Ken, maybe some just small.
This is protecting, this is to provide a demarcation between the town of Shrewsbury property, right? It's not a resource area as such, it's just town of Shrewsbury property, right?
Right, I mean, the resource area is really the brook there. It's pretty abrupt. That's obvious.
Yeah, but that's quite distant.
Right,
Yeah.
yep.
I don't know, I don't think it'd be a big deal to add boulders or something else, although they could be moved as well,
Right.
you know? What would you think of that, adding some boulders to those plantings?
Yeah,
Or something
I
more
don't think
permanent.
the applicant would mind adding boulders to that plan.
All right, we kind of have a standard condition, right, Brad, in terms of the size of the boulders and the distance,
They've usually been on the plan.
okay. Well, we could put that as a condition too.
Yeah, I think we can.
Right. All right, let's, are there any questions from any of the public attending tonight? So what are your thoughts? You want to hold this, or you want to close it and add a condition for?
Yeah, add the condition with the boulders. You probably
Okay.
put them, if the witch hazel is gonna be every 10 feet, just put them in the middle between, something
Okay.
like that.
All right, so.
And then also, Bob, with the certificate, as Brad said, that'd be a condition on the certificate of compliance, not to cut or move the boulders. So there's two.
All right, so that we're going to close this hearing, and you can expect to see those conditions in your order of conditions.
All right, great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. The next item is a continued public meeting regarding the request for determination of applicability filed by Orlando Silva for removal of trees at 191 North Quinsigamond Ave. Is Mr. Silva here, or his representative? Seeing none, we'll continue this to the next meeting, which is
October 19th.
October 19th. Next matter on the agenda is a continued public meeting regarding the requested determination of applicability filed by Syed Zaidi for the removal of trees at 424 Hartford Turnpike. Is Mr. Zaidi here, or his representative? We will continue that as well. The next item on the agenda is continued public hearing regarding notice of intent filed by Accessible Housing for Children, Elders, and Disabled, LLC, for the construction of a sewer force main and fire hydrant at 270 Green Street. Mr. Tetro?
Hi, Mr. Chairman, I'm here representing Accessible Housing for Children, Elders, and Disabled. We're just about done the last time, but this has dragged on months because I had a rather extraordinary situation with DEP where we couldn't get a file number assigned, and it turns out the reason is my email ends in .co, and somehow the DEP, I don't know if you'd say firewall, security system, however you want to, it should be termed, would not let my emails in, and did not tell me that they were not being allowed in, and did not tell Judy Schmitz at DEP that they were not being let in. So I had sent, maybe a half dozen emails containing all the documents to DEP, and Judy never received any of them, and she didn't see it as a spam item or something else knocked out, and I never saw that, I never got a message saying it had been bounced back. So if you, I guess you'd have like a split screen of each of us on one side saying, why is this guy leaving me the occasional phone message saying this should be filed where, he's never sent it to me, and meanwhile I'm saying, why isn't she recognizing it? So, anyways, the application before you, the notice of intent, is for the installation of a sewer force main for E1 main for this structure to follow the existing utility easement that's already there. There's already existing water line and existing E1 force main that's, the existing one is already serving the Alltech site and the small auction at Lot 2 and the Milton Proquip at Lot 4 and the, used to be at least, Columbia Gas at Lot 3. They're being served by one force main now. It was the sewer department's wish that this be not connected to that same main, but be on a separate main. And that's why we had to file notice of intent with you folks for running it. Again, this is the, off Green Street here. This is, you've got the existing pond, and flow out of this pond goes toward Green Street. There's the Grafton Job Works down this way. And again, there's this existing utility easement with sewer and water in it right now. And we would just be running, where I show here the red, a new 1 1/4 inch E1 line just a couple feet off the side of the existing force line. In the easement that's already cut, there's not any tree cutting proposed for this. It's already there. And just one other item is that the town also asked us to put a hydrant in over here on Green Street, and that's also just a little bit of work within the 100-foot buffer zone. But this has not changed since I was before you, I think in May. It's just been this odd standoff where neither Judy Schmitz or I knew what was going on with their computer system, and they didn't get the filing, and so didn't issue a file number, and so we were sort of stuck in limbo. So I'll try and take any questions if there are any, but that's what was the substance of the delay that neither she nor I could figure out, and only sort of eventually understood what was going on.
Questions or comments, Ken?
I'm all set.
Martha?
I'm good. I have just a minor question. There's a little dog leg that comes out just after where the easement crosses over the pond. What is that?
Oh, that's because the contours would push, for instance, right, if you're digging right here, maybe that's not the best spot, but this is a erosion control barrier. It's just to catch anything that's gone down and gotten a little outside of the existing easement.
Okay, thank you. I'm all set.
Jason?
No questions.
Brad?
I'm all set.
Are there any questions from the public? Then we'll close this hearing. Move on.
Thank you, and I apologize for all the delay and the continuances. The next time, apparently I think DEP, somebody at DEP is just not doing their job. Maybe there's a computer issue. Thank you.
We are now to a continued public hearing regarding notice of intent filed by 7 Sherrill Realty Trust for the construction of access roadway, sidewalking, utilities at 581 to 587 South Street.
Hi, Mr. Chair. My name is Rashid Sheikh, representing 7 Sherrill Realty Trust, and accompanying me is Joe Marcodan from Marcodan and Associates. Last time when we were here, we were talking about there may have been some filled at the crossing by the previous owner, and as you remember, that basically we inherited this, and we were trying to figure out from comparing old versus new flags. May I share this data with you, sir?
Yeah? Go.
So Mr. Stone requested that we compare all the new flags. So we did. And, comparing old versus new flags, if you really look at the 11 by 17 sheets, the green is like kind of the gain in wetland, and blue or purple is kind of, filled area lost in wetland. And if I compare in the chart, there's kind of net 4 square feet of net gain. But I can understand Mr. Stone might be thinking that, there is a loss to wetland, because if you see on the 11 by 17 chart, again, the constructed wall and the proposed wall, I mean, it's difficult to kind of even compare. They're almost setting on each other, but there is a little bit difference. So, like I said, if we really compare the green and the purple area, there's actually a net gain of 4 square feet. And we believe that this really is, when they were building it, of course, there were, some construction tolerance or what have you. We were not there. We are not sure, sir, whether they actually intentionally felt that it was a mistake or construction tolerance. We were not there, sir.
I'm a little confused with the nomenclature here, if you could just clear it up for me.
Sure.
When you say wetlands decreased, what does that mean?
Go ahead, Joe.
We took the information on file, the historic location from the plan associated with the construction of the block retaining wall, and overlaid that on Ecotech's recent delineation from April of 2020. So what we have is a 5-year-old delineation and a 1-year-old delineation. We were trying to assimilate those two, place them together, and see how different the wetlands delineations were. It appears that in a couple of locations, the most recent, the 2020 delineation, pulls further back from the retaining walls. So we were trying to figure out, how did that happen? Wetlands, as you know, are a very dynamic entity. They change constantly. And the thought process was either something has changed in the flow characteristics to affect the wetlands, or there was some placement of fill that pushed that wetlands further from the wall. We're not really sure what those are. I think that was what Rashid was speaking to a moment ago. But what we tried to quantify for your benefit was, here is the location. What did it mean? Is the wetlands wider, for instance? Or does it come further up in a certain location, so that on the ground there is a larger wetlands mass than there was 5 years ago?
And that's represented in the green?
Correct.
And the blue is represented, is areas that were wetlands but no longer?
Correct, that the delineation by the same groups, Ecotech did 2015 and 2020. For instance, on the north side, it's further from the wall, which leads one to think that maybe there's some fill in there that went behind the wall as part of the construction process. So as Rashid said, I was not involved, he was not involved, but that's what I think a normal person would assume, is that there is some fill in there that changed that delineation.
And one more data, sir, that in one of the attachment, there is a plan by J.M. Grenier and Associate. This was the originally approved plan. And there is really no dimension of the crossing itself, but there is one dimension, and that is, say, 30 feet culvert size. So that's over here, sir, right here. This is bigger, it says 30 feet culvert size. So the only way to understand that what would be the crossing size is assuming 30 feet based on the culvert size. So now when we look at today, it is 27 feet from inner face of the block to the inner face of the block. And the outer face to the outer face is 33 feet. So you approved about 5 years ago, or what have you, about 30 feet crossing, so to speak. Whereas today, it's 27 feet inside to inside and 33 feet if you look at outside to outside. Honestly, it is not possible for me to say whether, when it says 30 feet culvert, whether that meant outside or inside. But anyway, I think there may be an assumption that there is some filling based on, some loss, what I call it. But there may, as far as the gain, I call it, that might be just a creep, okay? So if you really, and we also talked to Ecotech and a couple of other people, everybody kind of believe that this is very it's within the construction tolerance and it's minimal. But still, we want to really make sure that we clean up the process. And in the effort to clean up the process, if there is a belief that, okay, we don't want to count the gain in wetland, but we only want to count the loss in wetland, then we are offering some replication area just to clean up the old order and not go into the argument. And that area right here, that little gravel area showing you on the map right there, it's about 1,135 square feet. So this is just to offer extra replication in case if you don't want to consider, the gain and you only want to consider the loss at the retaining wall. So, I mean, we're trying to kind of move along and see, we don't know for sure what happened in the past, but we are trying to see that how can we clean up and move the process.
You could find out what happened. Have you done any borings in that area that's, you considered to be a loss?
We have not, no.
Oh, so you could easily do, if you did a boring, you could tell whether or not it was filled or not.
Yes.
Yeah, of course you could.
So, sir, we, instead of going into that and maybe causing some more disturbance, we thought we offer you a replication area.
I wouldn't talk about your aversion to disturbance, because, we've got pictures that we should address that tonight as well.
Sure.
All right. I have one more question.
We have other issues, but we just thought that maybe we
Well,
close this issue.
You've received from our agent a letter that he sent to the members, to us,
Yes, sir.
enumerating 10 issues.
Yes, sir.
And so I have a question to Mr. Stone. Have these issues been satisfied?
In my opinion, no.
So you've not come to agreement with Mr. Stone as to the response on these issues yet, is that correct?
Sir, I wrote Mr. Stone back my response, and I would like to talk to you guys about, some of those issues. And I got a reply back a couple of days ago, and we thought we'd talk about those one by one. So we can, if you like to close this and then move forward, we can talk about those. But if you want to just talk about all of them, that's fine, we can do that. It's whatever you like.
No, frankly, my preference is that you resolve these issues with our agent, rather than have a exchange here that's going to be
Sure,
perhaps argumentative and
Sure.
tedious.
sure.
I think would be much easier and simpler for your engineer and Mr. Brett and Mr. Stone to resolve these matters. That's my opinion. If members want to hear otherwise, that's up to you.
I agree.
I'm in 100% agreement.
Okay, so then I think, I just got a response back a couple of days ago, and then I think we'll need more time
And
to.
I've read these things, and, I agree that if these issues, even in terms of the work that's been done there historically, there's been no certificates of compliance issued for that. We ought to resolve that. Your engineer should be able to demonstrate that it was either done in accordance with the order conditions or not. Rather than go through and all these points, seems to me the best way to resolve this is between your engineer and Mr. Stone. Would you agree, Fred?
To some extent, yes, but I do think there are some things that the applicant should get some direction from the commission. And I'd be happy to
example?
talk a little bit more about that.
Okay.
So the big issue is and I think the commission was provided the latest sketch, yep, okay, so that shows the replication too. So this particular area at the crossing, if we recall at the last meeting, we got the two wetland delineations kind of last minute. So I've been out to the site twice since the last meeting, once shortly thereafter. Then I did a comment letter. We got a response from the applicant, and I went back out there again at that time. So the area has definitely been filled. The crossing's about 7 feet wider than what the commission approved. The commission didn't approve any wetland filling. So what's there is width-wise at the crossing's about 7 feet into the wetlands when you look at both sides. So you've got some illegal wetland fill or unpermitted wetland fill there. The other thing that keeps being brought up is the net gain, net loss of wetlands. There really isn't any gain here. There's nothing on site to indicate that a wetlands replication area, for instance, was created. Anytime a wetland line is evaluated, that can change dynamically for a number of reasons. It can be different scientists looking at it. You can send 10 different consultants out to the same site, you're gonna get 10 different wetland lines. They may be very close, but they're gonna be different. Also, time sometimes changes that, season, how thick the vegetation is, if you send a surveyor out there, whether or not that survey pole is right at the flag or it moves a few feet. A number of things can result in, wetland delineations and flags showing up a little bit different. So these extra areas that are kind of looked at as a gain, there's nothing that I see as having been done on site that would indicate that they've allowed an increase of wetlands that you could take credit for instance. It's just somebody saying, we think we've got more wetlands here than before, throwing it out there, but it's not really anything under the regs that you can offset a mitigation for a loss of wetlands, for instance. What's at the crossing is clearly a loss of wetlands. The walls were built wider than what was approved. And the fill area, I think this was asked a little bit earlier, it's fill. When you look at the blocks, and I did take some pictures and put them in the drive if anyone's had a chance to look at it, you'd have to excavate down to footings, and there's this fill that's sloped up as you go up along those blocks. So it's basically what's there in particular in that southerly section. There's a sloped area of fill that's kind of graded and tapered from the wall. It's just backfill material. So typically when the commission has looked at, do you use the discretion for wetland fill or not in the past is the limited project criteria. And I think we had discussed this early on during the process of the project. I don't think it meets it. It doesn't mean that the commission can't use its discretion to allow wetland fill if you choose. If you want to go that direction, that's something that the commission can do. And if that's the case, then you should be requiring wetland replication as well. And I would think that, you'd want to see at least 1.5 or 2 to 1 replication. Again, not allowing these green shaded areas as kind of an offset. You actually need real replication area here and go from there. The NOI would have to be amended to reflect that. We'd need, better construction drawings to show this replication area than what's presented on this sketch. That's certainly an option if the commission chooses that they can entertain too. My recommendation is if the commission wanted to do that, there's other things on this plan that I had concerns about as well, which is those house locations, being very tight to the commission's policy limits as well as not meeting it. Some were right at the 30 feet, one was well less than that. My opinion is if the commission chooses to use discretion to allow wetland fill here and the replication, then at a minimum, I would suggest that you have the applicant meet the commission's policy going forward. So, possibly a condition of any of those lots, making sure that you have the house footprint at least 30 feet from the wetlands, things of that nature. I've got concerns conceptually what was shown that, they could come back with a design layout of, less than 30 feet on 3 of those lots or more if need be, depending on how those septic systems end up, things of that nature. So I think those are the things that, we need some guidance from the commission on. Some of these other things, like the design concerns, You know, I mentioned the slope on the infiltration basin. Well, that's right out of the stormwater management handbook. You know, it's a 3-to-1 minimum right in the language there. You know, things like the access and maintenance, the handbook's very clear on access with detention ponds. Why it didn't get more clear language on infiltration basin, which you still need to maintain, is beyond me. But from a DPW perspective, we need to be able to get around these things and maintain them. You know, I put the comment in this letter in particular because you've got a house that's literally just a few feet from that basin. You know, we're gonna need access to that, and when the slopes were not designed properly, that just further increases the need to get in there and need equipment and things of that nature. You know, and some of the things about, you know, encroachment and how do you handle that. So some of these things we can certainly work out with the design team on. You know, the test pits, there's test pits on the site, but, you know, right in the handbook, you need 3 in the infiltration area. But really, the main concern I have tonight is, you know, direction-wise, is this wetland fill part. And, you know, I don't know as any of us want to spend too much time without kind of getting a clear answer there, if you have any input at this point.
Just looking at it, in my opinion is, you know, I'm kind of leaning back towards what we originally approved, way back when, based on the 2 lots in the 2 driveway configuration, and not adding any additional fill or any additional disturbance beyond the 2 lots that were originally approved.
Martha, do you have any comment?
I'm not exactly sure where I stand on this, except that it needs to be done right, and it absolutely, DPW absolutely has to have access for maintenance going forward. And beyond that, I have lots of questions about the proposed replication area. I mean, I'm willing to consider replication to what's done is done with the fill and the road crossing, and we need to correct for that. But I want to make sure that where it's proposed and how it's proposed is actually doable, workable, and fulfills the function of a wetland.
Jason, any comments?
No, I mean, I would echo what Martha said. I would also echo one thing that Brad has to say. I mean, the fill is there. I think there's no reason to try to go back and get that out, but we do need to make replication area. But if that's an agreement we come to, I wouldn't want to do that until I saw a plan where there are no structures within any boundaries, and that entire plan is cleaned up. I don't know about, you know, going back to 2 lots, but I don't want to get into this and see houses in the wetlands or in the buffer zone. There's just no reason for that.
So, Mr. Chair, may I, before you
Let
pass?
me just express my opinion
Sure,
now.
sure.
You've heard it from the other members. Mine's a little different. I'm reluctant to consider anything with regards to this order of conditions or application until we resolve the original order of conditions and get certificates of compliance on those. Now, issuing those certificates may require a new filing with the replication area because of the difference in the, as Brad has expressed, the difference in the dimensions of the crossing and the fill that you have acknowledged. But I don't understand why we should be considering a new subdivision or anything other than what has already been approved until we at least get certificates of compliance issued for what's already occurred. That's my take.
So, Mr. Chair, actually, honestly, with all what you guys said, it may look ironic, but we don't disagree with any of that.
Okay?
Okay, so you actually summarized it very well, and thanks for doing that. We want to really do whatever we can to close the issues so we can close the previous order and whatever condition, if we need to move, we can move those conditions to the new order. So if I may, just quickly, first of all, that's fine. We are willing to forget about the game. I just show this, what we compare old flag to the new flag, because, sir, I don't know what really happened. But I'm absolutely okay to take what Mr. Stone has said, that we take it as long as we can agree that, okay, tell us what the best we could calculate. And just to remind you, sir, we didn't even have this old plan. We got that old plan from Mr. Stone, and we tried to kind of reverse engineer and find out, where the difference is. It's not that easy. But anyway, the point is, we came up with around 800 square feet of fill. Okay, forget about the gain, but fill is about 800 square feet. We are offering, 1.5 to 1, but if it is 2 to 1, please tell us, and that's the direction we are looking at. We are willing to meet that. And we are willing to meet what we present, what need to be, presented and close that. So if we can directionally agree that by doing that, we can close, and I agree with your summary, that let's close it and let's work on, the other application. Now, as far as the other application goes, basically, he has already suggested to the planning board, and planning board has already considered, the structure review, and that's going on already, and we should be having the answer pretty soon. And then, there are a couple of other issues, as far as the drainage basin. I actually called, after receiving Mr. Stone's letter, I actually called up the town engineer and also looked at what is it Graves, the peer review, when we submitted this. So basically, the way we maintain the basins have changed. I am willing to put, any type of, fence or rail or whatever you need to protect that area and separate that area. However, when I talked to the town engineer, he said we don't really like that anymore because we want to open access. But I think we can put that split rail to separate if we need to separate. Okay.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, but I think it's premature. As I said, let's get certificates of compliance on the existing order of conditions.
Okay, sir.
Then we can talk about
Fair enough.
split rail fences or,
Fair enough. So
my opinion.
I'll go back to what you originally said. Let me work with Mr. Stone to satisfy whatever we need to do. I think he's right when saying we need a direction from you in terms of closing the current order of condition. So if we provide the replication area and the plan you need, can we then at the same time apply for closing the old order or getting the certificate of compliance on the old order? I mean, we didn't cause that, but we're willing to just close that. And
Well, it's got to be closed, I think.
The work should be done before, in order to receive a certificate of
You agree with
compliance,
that?
you need to complete
Agree with
the
that,
work,
appropriate.
and you need to remove the fill from the wetlands.
Yeah, so you may need a new filing just to create the replication area and to address, you may need an amended filing or a new filing to address the old order of conditions and
Sir,
what has occurred.
Sir, as you know, that we didn't-
Meanwhile, your
didn't
current
go ahead.
application will be continued until we can resolve that first one.
So, sir, as you know, that we didn't cause that, but we are trying to do it in the cleaning process. It is in your
You bought it, you own the property, right?
Yes, sir. And
So-
so, but I'm saying, do we have to go through yet another filing, or can we do it under the same file? We're willing to do all the work, and if the sequence of your liking, I mean, we like to do everything together, but if you like us to do this application first, so be it.
My
But-
preference would be to close out the first one, then we'll consider new application.
Right, I'm saying we can close out the first one, but, I mean, do we have to, I mean, that's in your prerogative to basically just do the clean out and close out, but, I mean, do we have to really now get another application? I mean, Mr. Stone, what do you suggest, sir?
What are the
Well,
regulations, what would the regulations,
So, I mean, this is typically not necessarily well-written in the regulations. DEP has always had this policy where they don't like multiple orders for one particular parcel. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened. It's happened here plenty of times. It's happened in other towns plenty of times.
Yeah.
The options for getting a certificate of compliance would be to, remove anything that's in the wetland in terms of fill. I mean, that's the walls, some earth material, things of that nature. The other thing would be to, one of the options is a new separate NOI just to address the old filing, which would be something that would allow the walls to stay in place, create the replication area. Once the replication area is created, then get the COC at that point, if the commission's happy with it. It can be done separately like that. I don't think there's any reason it can't absolutely be done as part of this application. But that's also, commission's preference. It's.
My preference would be to bifurcate them. I don't know about the rest of them.
I mean, you're looking at an area that was filled 7 feet wider than what we approved.
Yeah.
And basically what we approved before is two driveways 12 feet wide,
Yeah,
24 feet wide of paved area.
yeah.
So it should be constructed in that manner, what we approved originally. And then if they want to modify it or change it, that's what they're looking to do in his filing now. He wants to make it 30 feet wide.
No, sir, I'm sorry, we're not making 30 feet wide. Again, if you're saying there is really no design here that says that 24 feet, at least I haven't seen it.
Well, it's right here on the plan. It's two driveways 12 feet wide.
Right, but there is also a strip,
It's a 1 foot wide strip, so it's
so that make
25.
25 feet.
Okay.
Right now, it's 27 feet, sir.
So it's wider than what was
So it's
originally
2 feet
approved.
wider, and what we are talking about is that multiplying that and getting the replication area double of what's the fill area is.
You're not suggesting to widen it in any way. You're suggesting that you'll use the existing.
Yes, sir.
The way it's constructed.
Yes, sir.
The issue is that I think we're kind of agreeing that it's constructed in nonconformance to the order conditions.
Yes, sir.
So the question is, are we willing to issue a certificate of compliance at some point, given the appropriate remediation and replication for what exists in place without demolishing it and reconstructing it? And I think you're not going to get that answer here tonight. You're going to have to submit a proposal that would include remediation and replication, and then see if the committee would approve it.
We were hoping, sir, that we move in that direction to, to do the remedy working with Mr. Stone. And, and that would be, you are, like Mr. Stone said, there is really no regulation for that. Let us work with Mr. Stone to, rectify and replicate so we can make some progress. And the next meeting when we come in, if it is, replicated according to, his direction, then we can, get the certificate of compliance and move on to the next one.
Well, I guess if you can get, if you and Mr. Stone can come to some agreement, tentative agreement, that would certainly be persuasive to me personally.
Okay.
I don't know about the other members.
I hate putting all that work on Mr. Stone.
Well, that's why he gets the big bucks.
Yes.
I mean, these, like I mentioned, this is really a commission, I mean, I can look at a design plan and see if it meets, the mitigation criteria for, replication area offset for wetland fill, things of that nature. But it's really do you want to allow the fill, and if so, procedure for that, as we've discussed, do you want the COC first before entertaining this, or are you willing to entertain all of this concurrently? And then, are there any other additional, mitigation measures do you want to see in part of that? Do you want to, hold fast to the policy and things of that nature? Like, these are things that I can't decide. So I can only work with the design team so much. Those kind of decisions have to come from the commission. You've heard my thoughts and scenarios on that, but I can't pick one and tell them which to run with.
So, Mr. Chair, my feeling is that it needs to be rectified before any further progress can be made. Whether that is, if the applicant were to do a comparison of what it would take to rebuild it so that it was in compliance with the original plans, or to alternatively have a plan for a replication. Ken, I think you have a good sense of whether the fill needs to come out or whether it can be lived with or replicated. I don't have a good way of figuring that out yet.
Right, my sense is to build it to the way we approved it. So, it should be constructed to the way we originally approved it, narrower and with the 2 driveways. That's what we approved originally. That's just my feeling.
Yeah, I don't know, we have an approved plan, and now we've got, frankly, a mess, right? So, I mean, I need to see something down as to, what it is you propose to clean up all of these issues. I would like to see some sort of plan, before anything is done, see some sort of plan of saying, and maybe it is a comparison between what we've approved and what you're planning to do. But to see, I need to see like a replication area, I need to see, is this really fill in here? Like, that all has to be determined. I think we're doing a lot of what-ifs. I need facts before any sort of decision can be made, before I can make a decision.
So, sir, basically, I think we have discussed quite a bit in the past. Couple of things very clear, like, like Mr. Polito said, there was a 24 feet of driveway and 1 foot of strips at 25 feet, whereas now it's 27 feet, okay? So
Not in
I
compliance,
honestly
right.
think that destroying everything and rebuilding everything, that's far more commotion for the wetland than the replication. We're happy to offer replication, but I think going back to just demo everything and put back everything is like, there's no way it's gonna get any better for the resource area. But
Well, it may, right? We approved a 25-foot width roadway, 2 driveways,
Yes,
right,
sir.
and a 1-foot strip. It is now 27 feet.
yes, sir.
So clearly those extra 2 feet are taking up more wetlands than what 25 feet would, right? I mean, I think we can all agree to that.
Go ahead.
I mean, we could agree to that.
I think Mr. Stone wanted to say something.
Just to clarify, we're not talking 2 feet here, we're talking at least 7 feet. So I think we're talking travel lanes, difference between driveways, roadways, things of that nature. Looking at the plan, looking at the wetland delineation in the field, there's a 7-foot width of wetland fill that was
No.
filled there that wasn't approved. So we're not nitpicking over 2 feet, it's more than that.
Mr.
And
Stone,
for
I'm sorry.
how many linear feet? It's 7 foot
I-
width, right?
Yeah, I haven't measured the length of everything, but it's, I'll give you a ballpark.
May I approach you, sir?
I think I'm,
So the walls are in general, roughly 80-foot length along the edge of the
Okay, so
wetlands.
it's 7 foot width times 80-foot length. That's
That's substantial.
That's
How
substantial.
did you get it to 7 foot? Because I'm having difficulty understanding that, sir. Because if you really look at it, this is what it's supposed to be, and this is where it is, right? So where is the 7 feet?
So the original order of conditions did not allow any wetland fill. When you look at the outside edges of those walls on site and where that is in relation to the original approved wetland delineations, there's a total of 7 feet beyond those flags. So you've got about a 7-foot wider area that was created.
Sir, but that's where the flags are inside the one direction, outside the other direction. They're right in front of you, right here.
Yeah,
Maybe perhaps we can meet and over there at the site, like I requested you, because I honestly, no way I see anywhere 7 feet here. I mean, they are difficult to even differentiate. I can understand a couple of feet, but where is the 7 feet? Because we have to really look at the computer. We had the computer calculated. There is no 7 feet. Matter of fact, it's narrower on one side and wider on the other side. I mean, we have to follow what what the computer is telling us. We cannot guesstimate. So, we look at the old flags and the new flags, we, superimpose each other, and, hardly, you can't even differentiate. And again, we didn't cause it. We are offering a replication, trying to,
You didn't cause it, but you bought the land knowing this problem.
No, I did not know this problem, sir.
But you bought the land.
I
It
did.
is yours, correct?
sir.
So you, buyer beware. You bought it with it,
Yes,
with
sir.
all the problems.
Yes, sir.
And you bought it with a lien on it because there was no certificate of compliance.
Sir, I didn't even know that it existed when I applied for the new crossing.
It was
I
on the
came to
deed,
know.
wasn't it filed, wasn't the order of
I
conditions
I
filed?
think the very first comment on my letter to the commission was that it was recorded
Yeah.
and exists. So it
Okay.
wasn't, anybody
It wasn't
going
a
on to
no.
the registry can see
Yeah.
that it's there.
Well, I'm struck by a disagreement that we don't even know what's there compared to, we can't even agree as to what's there compared to what was approved.
Well, sir,
And maybe we should see that plan, and compare those two, but
which plan, sir? This is the old plan, right here, and this is the new plan, which we actually originally were offering a different location for building the crossing, but when first meeting, when we understood this, we actually changed and we reduced, our footprint, and we are laying out exactly what's built, and what's built on some area is a couple of feet wider than the other area. And we are offering a replication to, mitigate what's overage here.
well, I don't know what to answer. It seems to me you have, based on what we're hearing here tonight, you have a couple options. One is to reconstruct this roadway in accordance with the approved plan. Another is to submit a new filing suggesting that you want to stay with what is there, providing appropriate mitigation, and take your chances.
So that's what I'm saying. We have provided the filing that we're saying we will stay exactly what's already built. And we are also proposing you right here, the replication area.
But you're not listening to what I'm saying. I would like that filing to be discreet and not messed up with a bunch of lots. I want a filing to deal
Solely with this.
exclusively with getting the certificates of compliance. And then we can move on. And to me, those are the two options. No guarantee that that'd be approved. The only thing that you have a guarantee of is if you wanted to reconstruct the road as was originally approved.
All right, sir. We believe that would be the least disturbance to offer you the replication of something which we did not cause. And it is really, and we have to follow what the computers say. We cannot guesstimate numbers. And if we are absolutely going to guesstimate and not going to follow the computer, then there's no way we can get to any understanding. Because let the computer figure out how many square feet. Forget about the gain, forget about anything. Let's see what was lost, what is filled, and computer can tell us.
I'm not arguing against that strategy.
So, and then
I'm
we
just
are willing-
saying- I'm just saying that somehow you've got to get certificates of compliance on this thing, and there are only two ways to do it.
So, sir, we are willing to offer that application, and it is up to you whether you want, because there's no special requirement for us to offer another application. You already have the application, and we are going to follow that application. In that process, if you want us to replicate, and we have already provided you all the information you're saying, you already have it. The only thing you may want detail is the replication area. If you want more detail, we can satisfy Mr. Stone and figure out and come to an agreement of the replication area.
I hear what you're saying, hear what I'm saying, and I'm speaking only for myself, that I won't consider that, I won't approve a new application until there's a certificate of compliance for the old stuff.
Agreed with that, sir.
All right, well
But,
then-
but can you work toward that? Let me work with Mr. Stone to figure out that what is exactly is the exact area we need to replicate, and then
Yeah, but
get him the plan.
did we even say we'd allow replication?
No.
No.
We have not
No.
even
I'm saying we're
agreed.
gonna
No,
allow
we have not.
replication.
We have not.
We don't, maybe we don't want I don't think we want replication. There's no need.
I think what we want is what was approved, right? That's not done, so you need to provide us a discrete filing is what I'm hearing, and I agree with how you plan on remediating this situation and replicating it.
Do you want us-
Providing an explanation for replication or a suggestion for replication, and that's got to come into us, and we have to review that and approve that.
So you want us to open another application, because you already have an application?
We have an application for this in a subdivision, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. So that's too much. We need to deal with this one issue before you even get to the subdivision.
Right, but you have an opportunity to do that without opening another, but you want me to open another application?
Correct.
So it'll be double, like Mr. Sohn is saying, that DP doesn't like to have multiple applications.
I don't care about them. I
Okay.
care about the Conservation Commission of Shrewsbury.
Okay, so we will open another application
And
then.
recognize there are no guarantees. No. The answer might be, build what's approved.
And we believe that would be far more disturbance to the wetland in that case.
And you may be right, but.
We
I'm-
probably
I'm-
take a no
I'm
then,
just-
I guess.
But it really wouldn't be
Because
more
you'd be
disturbance
removing
because
fill.
there's only 2 lots. You're suggesting 7 or 8 lots, correct?
Sir, you approved a certain crossing. That doesn't matter how many lots, and let me also address your lot issue, because you said it like at least 5 times before too, and let me address that. Sir, it was not possible to build what I'm building if we would have not, gotten land for 577 South Street, 589 South Street, 591 South Street, 601 South Street, and by doing that, this is possible. And it's not like we're adding 7 or 8 lots, sir. Let me finish. We are actually, wherever there were 2 lots, it's going to be 4 lots. And in that, we're gonna also have to provide a basin. We also have to provide the inclusionary lot. So it's not a matter of making money. It's a matter of, instead of putting so many curb cuts and making it unsafe, trying to use the existing infrastructure to provide a nice neighborhood and a nicer look. And that's the reason neighbors like that. So this is what we are trying to do, sir. And if we're gonna get no, then we might as well get no now, because we do believe we have talked to at least 3, wetland specialists. And this is we're not asking too much, sir. We have a problem somebody created, and we're trying to clean up. And now it's been almost, 4, 5, 6 months since we have provided the application. And now we are asked to just go redo. We absolutely understand that we need to close this, and we're willing to close it. And it is in your prerogative to close this while, and move all the conditions to the other file. But I mean, now we are talking about another, 3, 4, 5 months. So I don't know. It seems to me that I'm at the no end, and I might take no and do what then take a next step. Because, this is not, people come in here and ask for a new, crossing. We are here, and we went through the hoops, we designed everything, we're using the current, infrastructure. Current infrastructure has a couple of feet here and there, and that's what the computer tells us. And the net gain, anyway, it's just, I don't know where I'm going. So, I mean, if you want us to, replicate, clean, close, it's absolutely correct. But I don't know why do we have to just open another application now? But if that's what you want, sir, that's what we have to consider.
What I think you should do.
And yet you are not giving me any direction that we will go in that direction. You are just telling me,
I'm making no I personally am not making any promises.
okay, so maybe we will request to continue and let us see if we can, work with Mr. Stone to figure out what should be the replication area, and then, provide you an application, if that's the route, you want us to go.
Seems to me you should get certificates of compliance in whichever way you find it suitable.
Well, I find it suitable, sir, that I apply for the certificate of compliance and all the open conditions move to the new application, and that's what usually is get done.
Oh, I don't think so.
And you have in your power to.
No, I don't know where you're getting that, what usually gets done. I think generally, certificates of compliance should be issued before lots are purchased on existing orders of conditions.
That is correct, but if it's not done,
You should have done.
sir, I didn't even know that, but that's fine, that's my failure, and I'm willing to live with that. And I'm saying I am willing to apply for certificate of compliance and take care of whatever needs to be done.
If that works.
So the whole thing is the filing a new application. That's where I find a little bit, different here. It's in your hand to, I'm happy to do what you're saying. Tell me what application, and we'll do that application. But can we at least agree to
Is
that?
anyone else willing to consider this application that includes this, or do you want to see us to?
I'm not willing to consider anything unless the roadways
I think you've
put
got
back to where
direction
it should
as to where
be.
to go. Get your
Or
certificates
you
of
work on it.
compliance, and then let's talk about the new applications.
Okay, sir. All right, thank you very much.
Chairman, is this being continued to the next meeting?
Beg your pardon?
Is this being continued to the next meeting?
Yeah,
Do we want to announce that?
October 19th, continued.
Thank you.
Before we continue, I should ask, is there anyone in the public who has any comments with regards to this application? Okay, thank you. The next one is a continued public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by Toffee and Vanessa Thomas for the clearing of brush and removal of trees along with regrading at 17 Calumet Farm Circle. Anyone here for 17 Calumet Farm Circle?
Mr. Chairman, I reached out to them today.
Yes.
It said that they will be looking to continue. I wasn't clear if that meant they were formally requesting it. I
Okay.
did do a site walk with the consultants. They do need to get us some additional information. My understanding is the site was reflagged, so it's still ongoing.
Okay. The next continued public hearing with regards to 824 Main Street, Lot 1A, will be continued until October 19th at the request of the petitioner. The next hearing is a continued public hearing regarding notice of intent filed by Courtney and Derek Quartler for site grading at 12 Kemble Drive.
So we
Anyone here representing this petition
we did get a request for that one today, too.
to continue?
Correct.
And that the next continued public hearing regarding a notice of intent filed by Mr. Chaviero for the construction of a single-family house, landscaping, retaining wall, and grading on properties 190, 198, 206 South Quinsigamon Ave. The petitioner is here. Do we have plans for this, Brad?
There was a electronic one revision submitted to me on Thursday. I don't think we got hard copies.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so I guess, I'm Joe Graham, I'm the engineer of record on the project. This is Robert O'Neill, the land surveyor. I guess to recap from about last month when we were in front of you, this project, as Reese has been in the process of building his house, he did some work on both 206 as well as 190 in the condo community. During our last public meeting, we had the owner from 206 came, expressed interest in relocating the retaining wall onto our site property and not being really part of the project, and just will no longer be requesting an easement from this gentleman. In addition, he was good with any of the landscaping work, any of the additional plantings that Reese has proposed, and the loam and seed in this area. Which is, so as a result of last meeting, there was that comment, as well as we received several comments from engineering. And I believe the only other comment that we received was a question on the bordering land subject to flooding up to the completed work that had encroached onto number 190. As Brad stated on this past Thursday, when we resent in some of the plans, I had looked at that area. So originally, way back at this point, we had originally proposed that we're repairing the stone masonry retaining wall along the water's edge, and this was a continuation of that deteriorated retaining wall, and I wanted to show the full limits of the repair work. However, the grades and the nature of the retaining wall did not change, so we didn't feel that there's any change in any of the bordering land subject to flooding in that area. So that was one of the comments, and then I'll just run through quickly some of the comments that we've received that are illustrated in this plan that we received from engineering. They had wanted a little bit of a revision of, there's a proposed trench drain that feeds into a water quality unit on this driveway. The water quality unit is connected to the underground infiltration system. That overflow is directed with a stone swale in the area that's a steeper slope along on this back edge. So they had some questions on some inverts and the water quality unit. They also had requested that we provide a sewer manhole to the existing lateral on our property. As Reese is proposing to have a grinder pump and force main connecting into the existing sewer lateral. So they asked that we connect in via a manhole. And those are really the limits of the changes that we made. When we were in front of the board the last middle of August, there was discussion of closing out or getting concurrence from the condo association on any of the proposed work that we were doing. I was under the impression, or I'm under the impression that they've looked at the plans that they are good with. I was waiting on actual documentation. We were supposed to receive a letter from them saying that the condo association is good, and we wanted to submit that with the package. But we have not seen that as of yet. It's just verbal. So that's kind of where the project is at this point. I am still waiting on is it Vincent and Andy Truman to provide comments on the revised set that we had issued them this past week. Like I said, the bulk of their comments revolved around some of the invert stuff and providing enough pre-treatment for TSS removal into the underground infiltration system. But we don't really expect it to be any substantive changes at this point in the design.
Foundation's been installed.
Oh, yeah, to date, to give, I guess, if anyone's been on site recently, the foundation, after I think it was not that last meeting, the meeting prior. The foundation has been all installed, backfilled, made safe, because there was question of, obviously, these are proposed retaining walls that are not installed yet. So there was concern of some of the grades in those areas. So this footprint is the actual installed footprint as built, and to the actual grades. And we'll make sure that they have hard copies. And I'll reach out again to the condo association, so it will include as part of that package. So you'll have documentation of their concurrence with the proposed plans and any plantings associated. As well as, after we get in contact with engineering, we'll have the revised stormwater permit. Because our previous permit only incorporated only our parcel, but because we expanded the area, the fee has changed, as well as some of the comments that we received.
Okay,
There.
ready for questions?
Yep.
Ken?
One question. The grinder pump,
Yes.
I don't have a plan in front of it, but was that shown on the original proposal?
Yes. Yeah, it was, when we had come back in, when the applicant had decided that he wanted to actually not rehab this building, but tear it down and build a new one. He had always wanted a grinder pump. He always wanted a bathroom in the basement, so therefore we had to come out through that end.
All right, and is the footprint of the foundation consistent with what we approved?
Yes. There was a slight change in, I think it was this angle back here.
Right here.
Yeah, and then the front step, but, I mean, it was,
I can actually address that through the chair. I went out, once the footing was installed, I staked out the footing, and then once the footing was installed, I nailed the footing so that, to make sure that the walls were consistent with everything, and they did actually a pretty good job on the foundation.
Good. I'm all set.
I'm good. I'm really interested to hear what the condo association has to say.
yep, I agree.
Jason?
I'm all set.
Brad?
So, I mean, I gave these plans a cursory review, I got them Thursday. So really, what the changes most important related to the stormwater permit these days, and, there's a couple of engineers in our office that have been looking at it for that. So I wouldn't expect anything else to change. So other than that, on my end, I would be okay at this point from a wetlands perspective anyway. So unless there's any significant changes anticipated other than what was, at least emailed to me on Thursday, then I'd be okay with that.
Well, we should be reluctant to do anything until we hear from the condo association, right?
Agreed. I mean,
Okay. So I too have no other questions other than
okay.
seeing what that is, and so if you want, I guess I'd like to ask if there's anyone in the public who has any questions or comments with regards to this petition?
Which condo association?
I'm sorry?
Which condo association?
What's the name of the condo association, gentlemen? You know?
I think it's on here. The address is 190 South Quinsigamon Ave.
Okay.
Any other questions? Comments? So I guess you'll be asking for a continuance?
Yep, and we'll make sure, obviously, hard copies, and the goal is to obviously get the stormwater permit wrapped up prior to the next meeting.
Thank you, gentlemen. October 19th.
Thank you.
Our next continued public hearing is regarding a notice of intent filed by G. Blaze Construction for the reconstruction of a failed retaining wall at 210 South Quinsigamon Ave. No petition, no one here for this petition? It will be continued till October 19th.
Ready?
So we have a new public meeting.
Okay. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that William and Janice Ryzuski, 38 Brookway Drive, Shrewsbury, have filed a request for determination of applicability for the removal of trees at 38 Brookway Drive. A public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, September 2021, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 100 Maple Ave, Shrewsbury.
Yes, Bill. Yes, please.
Good evening. I have 7 trees in the back part of my property, and I have a retaining wall, and then on the other side, it becomes town property, and there's a brook that runs partway through and it winds out coming out the front of Dean Park. And I'd like to have these 7 trees taken down. There's like 3 oaks, 4 maples. On the left side of the property, I have a neighbor's shed who's like right up against our property, and 2 of my trees are kind of like leaning over, so if we have a large storm, it could take his shed out. And the 3rd tree happens not leaning that way, but because it's in the proximity of the other 2, I'd like that one. And then one of the, that's the 3 maples, one other maple, I'm starting to get ants. You can see getting into them. And I have 3 oaks, and of the oaks, I'm getting ants, and I have, in a couple of these are pretty huge trees, and they're growing on an angle, and they're showing stress cracks. So before anything falls down, of course, these trees have been up for, quite some time. I'd like to have them, taken down.
Have any questions, Ken?
I'm good.
Do you have a plan to replant them, replace them with young trees?
No, I'm just trying to, what I'm going to do is, part of the property where those 3 maples are, I have a bank that goes up. I was planning on probably trying to level it off to make it more of a grass area. I could put some vegetation in there, if need be. But as far as the others, I was not, because right now they're so close, it's hard to maneuver a lawnmower around them. So that's a consideration I'm trying to do, is, trying to keep the yard nice and without the obstacles of going around trees.
May I suggest that if you plant the bank with shrubs, you won't have to mow it?
Good idea.
Jason?
All set.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No questions.
Jason, no.
I'm all set.
I have a question. You said there's a brook?
Yes.
How far are these trees from the brook?
Well, the 3 that are on the left side, of course, the brook sort of goes out
Yeah.
this way. They're the furthest part. 2 of the large oaks are probably the brook 50, 60 feet,
All
I'm
right,
guessing.
okay. All right.
I've never really stepped it off, so I'm not sure.
The brook is where?
So the brook's down in
Oh,
here.
yeah, okay.
So the closest the wetlands are about 60 feet.
Yeah. All right, I have no more. Does anyone in the public have any questions with regards to this petition? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we issue a negative determination.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that's a negative determination, which means that you're good to go.
Okay. Okay, when I have somebody come to do this, do I just tell them it's all set?
Yes,
or-
you'll get a notice from Brad.
Okay,
You'll get a letter saying it's a negative determination.
okay, very good, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Another new public meeting?
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Mark S. Spencer, 40 Lamplighter Drive, Shrewsbury, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the installation of a gas service line at 40 Lamplighter Drive. A public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, September 21, 2021, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury.
Yes, sir. Have a seat.
Hey, good evening. I'm trying to be a little proactive. My furnace is still fine. It's an oil-fired hot water system.
You're Mr. Spencer, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure, I'd like to change actually to over to gas while the oil burner is still functioning.
Yeah.
The house was built in 1992, so it's 29 years old. So,
Ken.
it's time to, it's a good opportunity now to convert. I do have a photo of the front of my house. I don't know if you like this or not.
I think I have it, right?
That's the Eversource. Eversource is showing, when Eversource contacted me, they submitted that plan of
okay.
where they would be putting the gas line. It doesn't encroach on the wetlands at all because it's the front yard. They're going from the street to the corner of the house. And it's level with the street is level with the corner of the house. And then there's a retaining wall, a stone wall, parallel to the front of the house that drops down, and it's a full walkout basement area there. So it's well protected as far as if they were to trench at that location. And it's actually going exactly where the fill for the oil tank is now.
And where's the resource area here, Brad?
It's behind.
Oh. Oh, okay. Any questions, Ken?
I'm all set.
Martha?
I'm okay, thanks.
I'm all set.
I'm all set. Any questions from the public with regards to this petition? Ken?
I make a motion, we issue a negative determination for the installation of a gas line at 40 Lamplighter.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's a negative determination, so you're gonna be all set. You'll hear from Brad, and go ahead and do it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. You too.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Sativa, 14 Walkup Drive, Westboro, Massachusetts, has filed a notice of intent to construct a parking area and stormwater management system at 800 Boston Turnpike. Public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, September 21, 2021, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury.
This is okay. I do have presentation plans. I don't know if there's a preference.
No, this is fine, thank you.
Okay. So I'll start with the notices.
You can give him the Brad. Yep.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
All right. So good evening, everyone. I'm Sean Barry from Level Design Group in Plainville. I'm here tonight representing our client, Sativa, and Kurt Budnick, who are proposing the construction of new parking spaces and improved drainage to 800 Boston Turnpike. These site plans I'm presenting tonight were previously approved in the spring of 2012. There's since been extensions for the permits, but they were never acted on, and the site has since changed ownership, so. So the site is 6.3 acre, fully developed. It contains 80,000 square foot commercial building with an existing 82 space paved parking lot with overflow gravel parking area. Sorry. There's a cell tower on site with an existing cell tower driveway. At its closest point, it's only a foot from the existing wetland complex, which is 25,250 square feet. There's 2 easements that exist on the site. We have a 30-foot wide utility easement up here and a 20-foot wide water easement right here. As far as the remainder of the site, the ground cover consists of maintained landscaped area, surrounding the existing building, and then obviously the parking area. Here's the grading sheet. So we're proposing a new berm that is within the buffer area. The reason we're doing this is, first off, to increase storage capacity of the existing isolated land subject to flooding. This disturbance is required to utilize the proposed stormwater management system and to prevent the building from flooding. There has been issues in the past. The existing wetland's only about 1.5 feet deep, so when that overflows, it has gone into the building before. We're gonna collect the stormwater from 2 hooded catch basins here and here, which are gonna go to a CDS treatment unit before they discharge to the wetland. We have the erosion control plan. We have siltation control surrounding the grading with fence, with hay bales, gravel construction entrance. And here's the replication area. So approximately 1,450 square feet of the isolated wetland are proposed to be filled. As a result, we're proposing a roughly 1,575 square foot wetland replication area. And as I previously mentioned, obviously with the new berm installation, we are disturbing some of the buffer zone. About 4,500 square feet of the buffer zone will be disturbed. 9,500 square feet of that will be impervious ground cover. 5,700 square feet will be compacted gravel, and the remaining 30,000 will be previously disturbed vegetated area. So one thing I want to clear up, on the notice of intent narrative, we're proposing 68 spaces. I added, changed up the layout a little bit in this area, which took out 4 spaces as a result. This is to make it easy fire access, so I will get that revised, but it's technically a proposal of 64 new spaces. Here's our landscape plan. You know, the new berm, we're proposing a New England wildflower mix. We have red oaks, pin oaks, eastern red cedars, Japanese hollies, and dogwoods surrounding this site as shown. Any questions? One other thing I will mention, I've already presented this to planning board at their most recent meeting. I got the Graves Engineering response. There were pretty few comments. I think there were 6 comments, which can be cleared up easily. But they didn't really, they were reluctant to provide further comment until Concom, so.
Yeah.
For comments?
Ken, you have any comments? Questions?
Can you just explain a little about this wetland and the relationship? Where does it flow to, and where's the water exit? Because it seems like it's just like a trapped area.
Yeah, it's pretty much a giant puddle right now. It was man-made. It's only about a foot and a half deep at its deepest point, which is only, you know, it's less than 2 feet from its deepest depth to the first floor elevation of the building, so it is very shallow. The berm is proposed as a way to increase storage and prevent the building from flooding.
So is it like a detention basin, or is it a wetland?
It's a wetland that's also part of a isolated land subject to flooding.
Okay. I'm good for now.
Arthur?
It's interesting to try and think about how this functions naturally and then how you want to use it to enhance its function, to prevent damage to your infrastructure that you have and that you're proposing. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time to digest it. But one thing that stood out to me when you mentioned plants that you're proposing, I found a list in here of wetland plants. I didn't find a list of the other trees and shrubs. If you can help point me to those, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, so the trees that I read off were from this plant schedule table up here.
Okay, so that's
on the
that
landscape
sheet
plan.
4?
Yeah.
Okay. I heard Japanese holly in there. Is there a reason for not using American holly?
Not really. I could definitely consider that if you'd rather American.
I would prefer to see all native plants.
Okay.
I would not, so I would change out the Cowsed dogwood and the Japanese holly. So you could put in inkberry instead of the Japanese holly. And for the Cowsed dogwood, you could put in the native dogwood or some other small tree that was native to North America.
We'll look into that further. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have for now.
Jason?
I just want to confirm, how big is the replication area?
The replication area is 1,575 square feet.
And how much are you taking away?
We're taking away 1,450. Specifically, it's being taken away, it's hard to tell from this, but this little area right here along the gravel driveway leading to the cell tower.
And that total is how much?
It's 1,450 that we're disturbing and 1,575 that we're replicating.
Brad, any comments with regards to this?
So just a few real quick ones. The biggest reason is I haven't had a chance to do a full review on this yet. I know that some of the commission may remember this coming in before. Historically, I've been involved with this site for more than 10 years now, at least. And when you look at the aerial images over the years, typically those are shot in the spring, and you can actually see the water overflowing from this isolated area towards the building. So on a fairly regular basis, depending on which particular tenant is in that building at a given time, they've come to our office to kind of figure out what might be able to be done, or I should say before they get to our office, they probably start with building and then talk of wetlands, and then they're up to see me. So there was an approved plan at one point to kind of address this issue that wasn't constructed. Now, a similar approach here. I recall looking at it in the past under the belief that it was a isolated jurisdictional wetland, not a border and vegetated one. So I'll confirm that with another site visit, but I don't suspect anything's changed there. With respect to the replication, I, would be inclined to consider, closer to a 1-to-1 rather than, typical 1.5 to 1 or more, for instance, that the commission might look for with BBW alterations. Really only because they're trying to do this to address an urgent matter with the building there, and, not further develop this land, for instance. But historically, that area has always been pretty wet. Beginning this year, before the consultants got involved, we had people up to our office again with, last year we were in a drought, this year the quite opposite. So it's back in everybody's mind, and now here's a new application to try to address it again.
Yep. Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the public with regards to this petition? You want a little more time, Brad, to look at this?
There's also no DEP file number 2 yet.
What's that?
There's no DEP file number yet as well.
Oh, that's right. Right, there is. So you'll need a continuance. And you need to request it.
I request a continuance,
Okay.
please.
So this will be continued until October 19th. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
One more. Okay, Martha, you're up.
I thought I might just clear out. Okay, we have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Bressard Worcester County Realty Trust, 88 Old Faith Road, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent to restore bordering vegetated wetlands and buffer zone at 88 Old Faith Road. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, September 21, 2021, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Scott Jordan from Ecotech. With me tonight is Ray Broussard, the applicant and current property owner. And Luke Stelkoff is also present. He's looking to purchase the property. So I didn't bring my easel because you folks used to have. So.
You could clip it to,
Yeah, I see that. You know what I might do is, this mic's okay, right?
or even put it on that little shelf there in front of the TV.
I don't know if that'll work.
No?
I'm okay like this, as long as the mic picks me up and you're happy with it. No, I'm good, thanks. So this property is located at the very end of Old Faith Road and 88. And this house was constructed sometime after 2006. You folks issued an order of conditions, and then an amended order of conditions was issued in 2006. So there was a permit to construct this house, and Mr. Broussard is selling the house, and Quinn Engineering went out to the property to look around to get a certificate of compliance for the permit that's on the deed, and noticed there were some things that were out of compliance. Specifically, I'll show you, this is existing conditions. I don't know if you can see it real well, but here's the house, the outline of the house, and we're on Lake Quincy. Technically Flint Pond?
Flint Pond.
Yeah, it's technically Flint Pond down there. So the blue line is the wetland boundary, and that's the approved wetland boundary. And this dash line here was the approved limit of lawn in the order of conditions. Now, what we found was the lawn, during the site work and construction, the lawn was created down in this So obviously non-compliant, and we got to get it back into compliance. And we have actually filed a request for certificate of compliance for the project too, knowing, hoping we will get an order of conditions to do this restoration work, and then we can remove the old permit off the deed. We'll have a new permit on the deed. So what's entailed is, if we move over to this side, this is the proposed work. So this hatched area here is BBW. We know it was BBW. This is the old approved boundary. And I've poked around and augured in there. There's only 6 or so, 6 to 12 inches of fill in this area. But altered BBW, it's now lawn. And that is 718 square feet. We've submitted a restoration protocol with Brad. With the submission, we plan to remove the fill, and we're proposing 20 native shrubs, and of course stabilization. And of course, we would be present to supervise the restoration. This hatched area here was unapproved one in the buffer zone. So our proposal is to plant 45 native shrubs in that area that are indigenous to this area here. It's mostly just sweet pepper bush within this area. We're not planning to strip the sod off this area. It doesn't make sense to me to do that. We'll pop the shrubs in, discontinue mowing, and it should go wild in short order. Just does not make sense to strip that sod off, in my opinion, so close to the lake. So that's essentially the proposal. That's 2,896 square feet within the buffer zone, this lawn area that we would restore to vegetated buffer zone. As you folks know, a lot of the area around the lake is within priority habitat. I know what the crater is. I don't know if we do. But we submitted with Natural Heritage for the project. We have a no adverse impact letter from them. I forwarded that to Brad for his file. So they've approved the project. And that's the project. If you have any questions, I can try to answer them.
I'm all set.
I am good. Could I ask you to stick some button bush in there too, in addition to the sweet pepper bush?
In the wetland?
In the wetland.
I don't know if it's gonna be wet enough. That's a really wet plant.
Okay. Thank you for knowing that.
Yeah, that's an obligate. That's almost an aquatic plant, and in my experience, I'm not sure if it would take. So obviously,
I'll let you know. We're trying some in a couple of different places.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
You're good? Jason?
I'm good.
Brad?
In terms of the alteration, Scott, just refresh my memory again from your presentation on the buffer zone restoration. Are you going to be disturbing too much earth there? My only concern is the straw wattles. They're typically not effective if you've got a lot of earth exposed for a while. So if you're just doing plantings in that area, I'm not.
That's all we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me, Brad, to strip that sod off of there. It'll go wild real quick. Just dangerous. Yeah, just planting holes. The proposal is the protocol is to 1.5 times the root ball, dig a hole, backfill, and then we call for mulch for erosion control and moisture retention on the planting. So shouldn't be any soil loss. You know, the wattles just in case, but it's just going to be 45-20%.
What's that?
With respect to the NOI application, yes, I have another concern with the COC request. So if you want to talk about that now or when we get to the COCs, that's up to you.
I'm sorry, I didn't, what are you asking?
The request for the certificate of compliance for the same parcel.
for the old, you're talking about certificates for the old
Yep.
filing?
Yep.
Yeah, we should talk about it, it's all part of it, right?
Okay. So typically, we've seen these before. I mean, it comes up, not very often, but it's certainly not unusual. Somebody goes to sell a property, they find out, you know, something like this has happened, some replication work needs to be done. The commission typically doesn't issue certificates of compliance until that work's done. So you have in front of you a certificate of compliance request, basically requesting that you say that the old project's in compliance, which it isn't.
Yeah.
So I would think that you'd want to see work actually done before you release that particular order.
When are you looking to start doing work?
We would, you know, our protocols generally call for plantings not after November 1, outside the growing season. We would love to get this, you know, going ASAP. And I understand, you know, the point Brad's making. Our hope was that, you know, if the first certificate order was released through a certificate, you know, I don't know if we're allowed to have two orders on the same property. I've been told yes, I've been told no, but that was procedurally kind of why we did it. And you will have that other permit on the deed. So there shouldn't be any lapse where you'll have your, you know, you'll have control of this property until it's done right. And we'll, again, we hope to get it in, we'd love to get it in by November 1. And then we would get the 2 growing seasons of evaluation, you know, hopefully next spring, early summer, and then maybe again in the fall. And give you guys some time. Go out there a couple times next year.
When are you looking to close?
Well, from our from our perspective, the only thing that the lender has required is that we have an approved plan. Our interest is in the property because of the wetlands and because of the natural habitat, and that's what we're buying, that's what we like. So, you know, the closing is really just a procedural issue. Hopefully we close as soon as the approval's done or shortly thereafter, and the rest of it we would take over from the Broussards and hopefully restore the wetlands, because that's what our interest is.
What if we were to issue a certificate of compliance upon the demonstration of the filing on the deed of the new order of conditions?
Recording?
Huh?
Recording the... Yeah.
The only concern I have there, and I would suggest that you'd add some language to the new order, is, you know, typically with an order of conditions, there's no requirement that somebody goes ahead and does the work.
Well, I know.
Somebody's come into you with a proposal, you know, a lot of times work never happens. So if there's something that you want to have done, then, you know, you either need to wordsmith that into the order that, you know, this isn't an option, you have to do this work, or just go back to the original, just do the work, and at that time, once it's done, we'll issue the certificate for the old one.
Well, I know what you're saying, but given that they're here volunteering to fix this situation, which occurred, what, 10 or 12 years ago?
It's about 15 at this point.
15 years ago, that we never even knew about?
So, again, this happens because of transfers.
Yes,
And
right.
what's really the issue, and from my phone conversations with the prospective buyers in the past, was that the lender didn't want to see that on the title.
Right.
So, I mean, that's
so
I don't know how recording a new order helps clean up the title, because now you still have an order on the title. So it's.
But he says his lender is willing to go forward as long as there's a new order, right?
As long as there's an approved plan.
An approved plan, right.
I mean, and to be honest with you, the work's already more or less started, because there was some irrigation in the vicinity, so that's already been removed. So the lawn is already, you know, we're already kind of moving things
Yeah, I should
forward.
have thrown that in. There was irrigation in that area, it's got to be yanked out.
So it's prepared to now start the work. I mean, I think it's,
My feeling is that we issue a new order of conditions to this request, and once it's on the deed, once it's been recorded, we should be able to release the other one, the old one.
I mean, Brett, I 100% agree with you.
Huh?
I really hate doing things like this, but I mean, you voluntarily come in to do it. I'm of the mindset, you know, you've already started work, you're already starting down this path, you know, I think we can make a good faith basis of, you know, releasing the old order and putting a new one on, and, but wordsmithing it, I think, is gonna be very appropriate.
So, but the consensus that I'm kind of hearing is as long as a new order of conditions is recorded prior to the certificate being issued, the commission is
Right.
comfortable.
That's
Okay.
my feeling.
Sure.
Yeah, I agreed.
Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I was also gonna ask, our next meeting is October 19th. Is there any chance that the work can get started before
Right.
then?
Well, we still have to.
Oh, yeah.
I have two contractors standing by right now. And they're just waiting for the word to go, that they can go in and do this work. And we want to get your permission for that.
I think that'd be great. I mean, if the work could get started.
Yeah, that means you couldn't close till like November, early November.
I think it depends on whenever, I don't know the procedural stuff, I'll defer to Scott. I don't know, as soon as we can get an approval.
October 19th
Yeah,
and issued a new order
shortly thereafter, yeah, would be.
would be, what's the appeal period, 10 days?
We can issue this, we can vote on this tonight and.
Yeah, you lost me there.
Oh, so you want to vote on it tonight? Okay, let the work get started, then issue, then at our next meeting, we can sign a certificate of compliance.
Correct.
Ah,
For the old one.
yeah.
What I would ask, if the board could give us something stating that we have permission to start the construction, then he can show this to the appraiser for the lender, and then they can move forward with their
Yeah,
needs
right.
to
Well,
the
if
loan.
that would help, because we can issue the order tonight, I mean, we can, right, the order conditions tonight.
No, we can't get that out tonight.
No, not tonight.
No.
We can vote on it.
We can vote on it,
Vote on it.
right?
Yeah,
And then
it's
it'll be
gonna
what?
take a few days to
Yeah,
get
a few
it out.
days, yeah, you know,
Well,
and then you'll get it.
That
and,
would be very nice if
yeah.
we could do that.
So you have the order being issued and then you have the appeal period,
10 days, right?
business days.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we would be willing to work
yeah, okay.
within the appeal period.
Yeah,
See
I think so.
anybody here?
I think the only concern would be like if we start the work and then there's a chance that the plan would change, we'd have to, you know, that would be the issue of,
We'll change it.
The plan will change.
or if the committee
Kind of have the order
required.
conditions by
Yeah.
the time you start the work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have to have a
Yeah.
permit in order to do
Right,
it.
makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. That's what'll happen, I guess, right? Okay. All right. You'll hear from Brad and after the 10-day expiration appeal period.
Thank you guys so much, really appreciate it.
Oh,
And
thank you for coming in.
thanks for all your work, I really.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are you new residents to Shrewsbury, or?
We're, Elaine and I are in training, so Elaine's at UMass, we're physicians.
Oh, good. Well, welcome to Shrewsbury. One more.
Yeah.
Okay, Ken.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we issue an order of condition 136 Old Mill Road for the construction of a single-family home and associated utilities.
Is there a second?
With the condition of boulders
Oh, yeah,
being
this is the one, yeah.
installed in between the plantings
Yeah.
every 10 feet or so.
The witch hazel
The
plantings.
witch hazel plants, correct.
Did we want to specify the width of the boulders?
Well, I was gonna ask Brad about that. We've done this, been through this before in terms of 3-foot diameter boulders, 6 foot on center or something. There was can you recall what
Sounds
that was?
familiar.
Well, we could do the 3-foot
We've done that before.
diameter boulders in between, because they were going to space the plantings 10 feet on center.
Oh, all
So if you
right.
put the boulders in between the spacing of the plants, it would be a good place. They're planting the witch hazel bushes 10 feet on center. So if we put the boulders in
In
between
between.
the
3 foot a
plantings.
good size?
Yeah, I think that's one.
Is there a second?
Second.
Just,
All those in favor?
I'm sorry, I heard so much noise,
It's
so I
on
just
the,
want to make sure. so it was just-
136
was
Old
the-
Mill Road.
Yes, were the boulders the only additional condition?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion, we issue an order of conditions for the construction of a sewer force main and fire hydrant at 270 Green Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 I think that's it.
We have one more.
Last one.
Mr.
Oh, no, the
Chairman,
last one.
Mr.
88
Chairman,
Old Faith Road.
I make a motion, we issue an order of conditions at 88 Old Faith Road to restore vegetated wetlands.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, there we go. Where are the things we gotta sign?
I can get those for you.
All right,
Do we want to finish the agenda before I sort that out, or?
okay.
Okay.
So we're up to discussing enforcement orders.
Yes, so 100 and 150 Maple Avenue, Commission may recall, you elected not to issue an enforcement order, formal enforcement order at the last meeting, but to have them submit the restoration plan. I think I left a copy
Yes,
of
you
that
did.
plan in front of everybody this evening. So unless the commission has objections to that plan, we can allow them to go ahead and start doing that work.
You're good with it?
Yep.
I have no comments.
All set.
All set?
Same here.
Everyone's nodding, okay.
Okay.
48 Everett Ave?
48 Everett Avenue. So this one, you may recall, this was that private gravel road that was in front of the commission a while ago, mainly for the repair of the ruts. And the reason that was in front of the commission was because it was within floodplain. So the house recently transferred. The new homeowners actually contacted me regarding this, said that the old homeowner had an existing permit to do this road work. They were actually tenants to the home before they purchased it from the prior owner, so they're familiar with the property and know how difficult it can be to travel as that road wears. So I gave them, actually, they had a copy of the order of conditions. I gave them a copy of the plan that was on file, showing them the limit of the work, where the erosion control would be installed, things of that nature. A few days later, they started the work, but it was far from what the commission approved. There wasn't erosion control in place. There was a lot of clearing on the lot itself, as well as along the bank of the brook there. And there was actually quite a bit of thick vegetation providing shade near the head wall at the bridge crossing. That was completely cleared as well. And I think the owner removed a little bit of woody vegetation on the far side of the stream with the whatever owner lives there. I haven't spoken with that owner, but it looks like there's some little disturbance there as well. I did put some pictures in the drive. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at them. I could always pull them up on the laptop as well. But it's way above and beyond what was originally approved. I met with the owners on site actually while they had the equipment out there to do the road. Explained to them where they went above and beyond, asked them to immediately install erosion control all along the brook and in the backyard to protect the resource area there. I've not had a chance to go out and take a look and see if that was done yet. This was just recent, and mentioned that they would be getting some more requirements from the commission as well. I'll just pull those up in case anyone hasn't seen them.
Brad, were they doing the work themselves or had?
Yes, doing the work themselves.
Do you mean were they doing it personally themselves or having,
Or versus hiring somebody?
oh, I mentioned they hired someone, right?
I got the impression the homeowner was familiar with the equipment and either renting it or it was his.
So he literally rented a piece of equipment or something and did it himself, you think?
Jason, you don't get to see it.
I'm coming to see it.
So there's this was all very heavily vegetated. Specifically what was there, I don't remember. What's common at these bridge areas all along that brook is there's a lot of grapevines and other things in that area. But it was thick, even if you look at the photos I took in previous years, it came out to the road and hindered some travel there.
This is all buffer area work, right?
Yeah, yep. And you can kind of see they stockpiled the vegetation there. And there's all along the bank of the stream, so that bridge head walls over here.
Is this the stream right here?
That's the stream right there. So they cleared right along the top of this area here.
Is this his property or is this on multiple properties?
This everything I've showed you is his,
Okay.
and the street right of way as well.
Oh my God.
Yep, so there's another shot of the head wall there. This is the backyard. So the street's over up in this area here, runs parallel with this line here. And the brook would be running in the back in this
Behind
area.
that shed?
Correct. Yep, so the brook runs in that direction, yeah. So they've done some clearing there. You can see the amount of disturbance, all buffer zone back there. But this was my biggest concern on site with the homeowner, which is why I wanted the erosion controls installed all along the brook. So that's, there's another shot of the bank looking towards the beach there.
Yeah.
So that's it in a nutshell. I think they really need,
Now, did he do this work on other properties or all on his?
There's a little bit of clearing. I meant to take a closer look when I go back out to check on the erosion control, make sure that was done. But it looks like there was minimal woody vegetation on the far side of the stream, so that picture, but directly opposite on the other side. Do you remember that 10-foot wide house that came in here? Yeah, so it would be that lot on that side. So it looks like just on the other side of that there was a little bit of disturbance on that embankment there. Certainly not to that extent, but there was some. I saw it in one of the photos I took.
So what's the reasonable fix here?
You could have them file a new NOI, I think, or have them, try to, amend the order, but give us a new plan showing whatever restoration work the commission wants to see. I mean, at a minimum, I want to see some woody vegetation reestablished along the bank. That what was there provided some good shade. I'm not sure behind the house as you go up, away from the resource area, how valuable that is. But this particular area was what I'm most concerned about.
Guy who did this?
I'm sorry?
You met with the person who did this?
Yes.
Is he gonna cooperate?
I won't know that until we give them the instruction on what we want to see.
So you wanna issue an enforcement, or you think we should issue an enforcement order?
Right.
Requiring him to submit
Restoration plan.
restoration plan? Okay. Is there a motion to do that?
Make a motion, we issue an enforcement order to have the owners at 48 Everett Ave come in and show us a restoration plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, certificates of compliance. The first two is a error in the agenda. Those were approved last month. They should have been stricken from this month's agenda. The next four, so 88 Old Faith Road, the commission's already discussed. I think we're gonna issue that once they've recorded the new order of conditions, correct?
Correct.
And the start of the work.
In the start of the work.
That's
Yep.
what yeah.
Okay, 1 Fieldstone Drive, I would recommend that the commission issue, as well as 56 to 58 Lakeside Drive. Oak Meadow Circle, this was a subdivision roadway. I have not been out there yet. I did hear from someone within our office that there was a number of shrubs within the detention pond area that may not supposed to be there. So I still need to do an inspection and look at that and see what compliance issues there may be there. There's probably no big rush because it's needed for street acceptance, which wouldn't happen till town meeting anyway as well. But it's probably something I can sort out for the commission by the next meeting. I would suggest holding off on that one for now.
Brad, I'm sorry, I missed 1 Fieldstone Drive.
Yes, Fieldstone Drive, I would recommend the issue. We actually issued one for a different order a few months ago, and they realized they missed one on the title.
Get them all to you.
Anything else?
I hope that's it for
Mine?
tonight.
No?
Unless you have any other questions for me.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a
How do you
second?
sign these?
Second. I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Well, thank you all for
Thank you for running an efficient meeting.
coming and.
Very efficient meeting.
This is off.